Okay, sweet. So this is gonna be my video on Siracusa in Sicily. So Syracuse or Siracusa is a sort of a special place for me because it has a lot of things I love, like history, ancient history, archaeology, as well as it has a connection through my family since I'm ethnically like Sicilian on half my family side. So that is one of the big reasons or the connections I had for Sicily. So that's sort of like why I wanted to go. And when I went to Siracusa, it's really like a hidden gem, I feel like, in Europe or Italy, because a lot of people will like travel to Palermo, which is fun, but it's a totally different vibe. Or they'll go to like Sardinia, for that's kind of like Hawaii-ish in Southern Europe, I guess. But that place is really great for like a different vibe. But for a certain type of person, I feel like Syracuse is like one of the more interesting places in Europe to go to. So hopefully I get to show some of that in this video. And if you're interested, maybe you can go there. So this is my hotel room. I was staying in the Ortigia part of town, some of the streets. I went for like dinner that night at a place nearby. Had some limonada and some pasta, a little tiramisu. So yeah, I just also realized I didn't put in like a lot of food like kind of clips in my videos, so I should add more of those like in the future. But I'll throw some recommendations up. So this is sort of in the little square downtown at night in Ortigia where like the shops are and stuff, but they had this really pretty sort of like light display from their scaffolding here, and they did it the whole street down. Like it's like a pretty long street and they did it the whole way. I just thought it was really pretty at nighttime, you know, and it's like on the backdrop of the kind of old European style housing and buildings. I just thought like, dang, this is really pretty. And I went for some gelato at night because, you know, who doesn't like gelato? So got some gelato, and I woke up the next morning, and this is a little bit of the place I was staying at. I'll put a link in the description, but basically it had all this like old castle vibe to it, which is interesting. And then there was like these like filming sort of like movie making equipment as well, which I was like confused at that like kind of juxtaposition. But anyways, it was really pretty though. You know, the way the lighting hit it is like what you'd want for staying in Europe, you know. So and then this is like by the water, there's these little like sort of outcropping defenses, you know, militarily or whatever. So this was really pretty, this little like strip here. I would go here every morning, just look at the rocks and the water, and just like kind of take a deep breath and look out at the ocean. This is like one of the prettiest spots that I always had access to like on a daily basis. It was just awesome. So Syracuse is like really, I think, an underrated place to just like, it's just so beautiful, like the coastline, the ocean, the water, and like that with the sort of like ancient like fortress kind of you know, protecting the island from other things was just like really cool vibe. And then this was crazy. I never saw a condom vending machine before, but they had a whole condom vending machine. I was like, what the hell? And then here I went to the museum that I was just like trying to see some, you know, artifacts from ancient history. So went to the museum, and yeah, there was a lot of like cool like ancient Greek and Roman sort of artifacts from ancient history here. If you're gonna go to any of the sort of archaeological sites, a lot of the findings are in this museum, which is great. Like the catacombs of San Giovanni, that is like one of the main things I came for. But they have the sarcophagus there of the of someone who was like found down there. So this is outside the catacombs themselves, and I couldn't record inside because it wasn't allowed. but it was really cool. There's a lot of like ancient. Oh, here's some cacio e pepe and some wine I got, for lunch. Which after that, I went to. Well, I stopped by the Temple of Apollo here, which is really old and cool. Got a little coffee and a pastry. Just sat down, did some journaling, and then went to check out the daytime view of the fountain there in Ortigia. So then I came to the sort of square outside the cathedral, which a lot of people were gathered at. Like in the midday, outside of the actual cathedral looks really pretty. And then this is the Fonte Aratusa. I'm not exactly sure how you say it correctly, but it's sort of like this ancient Greek watering hole with like a Greek mythology kind of story to it or something. And then yeah, this is inside the cathedral itself. It was pretty big, like one of the bigger cathedrals I saw in Sicily. And then yeah, it had a lot of like pretty ornamenting, like most kind of European cathedrals do. But it had like a really old feel to it, which I know they're all like super old, but this one felt like more local than what you might get in some of the more like tourist heavy cathedrals out there. So it's like a cathedral where you don't have to be super worried about like it being crowded. And then here's like the actual where I went to go see the ear of Dionysius. So this is like the main kind of attraction in Syracuse, which is this ancient ground where there's this famous cave. And around the cave itself, there's a lot of these like grounds that have been now turned into like a garden and have a lot of sculptures and also just like a lot of plants like orange trees, citrus trees, and things like that. They tried to kind of spruce it up because it has a dark history because it used to be like a slave labor camp, and they just treated the slaves really horribly and killed them, and was a lot of oversight by Dionysius. That's where like the name Ear of Dionysius like comes from, because it's like he used to like listen in the cave to those like all the slaves, and if anyone was like conspiring against him, he would like have them offed or whatever, which is like obviously terrible, but I guess it's creative to spy on them with a cave. I don't know, that's kind of a crazy thing to do. But to actually get to the cave, you have to go through all these rock formations, which were really fun. The way the light was coming through was pretty cool. And this one is like a more modern, like they have some like modern artists that have done some interpretive stuff here. Like these are not, ancient, but they're made by some artists who I think they actually look good. It doesn't look too cheesy when you're there. Like they tried to force it or anything. I think the artist did a good job of trying to tell the story while also like respecting the aesthetic of the place, and not like throwing it off too much. Like they do kind of like add to the vibe, I feel like, of this like kind of ancient Greek place that just has this kind of eerie feel to it, but it also is like just really you feel like you're in a very historical place, which I just love this place. And that's the ear itself. It kind of looks like an ear, like the whole like out shaping, or whatever whatever you want to interpret that shape as. But yeah, when you go in, it's very dark in there. It's not too deep, probably like 20, 30 feet deep. But when you get to the very back, it gets very dark. So I sat in the back and actually recorded some of it. So I'll show that in a second here. I kid you not, what was the craziest part about that cave was the pigeons. Like, I don't know if you heard it in the recording, but you could hear their like wings flapping. You could hear like their like little like swallowing sounds, like the little gulps they do with with their neck. Like you could hear that, and you could also hear just like their little sounds they make communicating with each other or whatever. But you could hear them, they were like up in the roof of the cave, and you could hear them like they were like 2 inches from your ear. Like it had this insane sound effect. Like it's the craziest like audio experience I think like I've had like in all my travels and stuff. It's just insane. Like you could have a conversation with someone like standing like 30 feet away, and it sounds like they're right near your like right we're talking like in your ear. It's actually crazy. And you could like I was throwing some stones, like skipping some stones, and you could hear those have a crazy echo too. So yeah, it was a really really interesting like audio experience to go there. And then so also close by is the ancient Greek theater, which is really cool. It's got a lot of history to it. It was sort of built in the 5th century BC, and is actually one of the like largest ancient Greek theaters ever built. And yeah, they even still do some performances today there. I mean, I don't know how often they do them, but I guess they do still do some performances, which is pretty cool. I really like the overall, like, I mean, it is like pretty dilapidated at this point, you know, because it's ancient, of course, but it's still, like, its shape is holding intact, you know, which I thought was, like, actually pretty nice. You can climb up and down the steps and kind of get a feeling of like what it was like in one of those Greek theaters. So then I went to the castle. It's actually called Castello Maniace, I think, and it's pretty cool. There was people blowing bubbles outside. There was this like kind of statue that someone made. I think it's a modern interpretive statue. It kind of looks like the wings of Venus in the Louvre, or not the wings of Venus, whatever that like piece is called. But yeah, then so they have some like a little kind of area, like a museum artifact area from the castle before you go in, and then when you actually go into the courtyard itself, it's sort of got this you know, all these like walls and barricades and pillars up for defending the land. And when you go in, it actually, like, I mean, it's been pretty well preserved over time. Like you can see like the pretty cool architecture it has on the inside, and then you can go down like all these little fun ramps and things to get into different areas of the castle. I kind of felt like a kid. Like I was like, oh, like look at all these. I don't know, like, you know, it felt like I was just kind of wandering around like a castle, which I don't know, maybe that's like a fun thing to do if you're, I guess, into castles or like watch a lot of movies and stuff. So there was like a lot of these like empty rooms. I don't know, maybe stables used to go there or something, but I'm not exactly sure. But the bridges were very creaky, which was like nice. You know, they got that old creaky feel to them. And then yeah, this is like sort of like the end point of the castle, like the very furthest out to the ocean, where, you know, I think soldiers would, this is where most probably the fighting was done, on these walls, like shooting out over the edge. So I think I tried, you're not supposed to really like climb up and like look out, but I think I might have done that. But yeah, something like over here, I just kind of like popped up and just took a photo. Maybe you're just not supposed to like climb on them, like the actual, like just stand on them, because you could fall off easily, I guess. And I don't know if that's like I don't know. Yeah, I could, like, I guess it's your own risk, you know, if you want to take that. But yeah, then over here there's like this like wooden kind of like back alley route, sort of. It eventually loops back into the courtyard itself, which was pretty cool. It's like, oh, there's like a little hidden passageway I didn't see. And then I went up to see this kind of like the higher walls, I guess, like lookout points for, like, you know, if there's all these like little windows where I'm presumably you'd shoot arrows through or whatever if you're like a soldier or a knight. I don't know if they had knights back then. I guess they just had like soldiers. It wasn't that old, I don't think, but yeah, the overall, like, it's kind of cool to look through these, just like peek out. And that was pretty much, you know, you went back into the courtyard, and that was sort of it. Just kind of took one last stroll around and went through a little, like, yeah, this is another little kind of spy hole, I guess, like, you know, protection if there's like an army approaching the castle or something. And then, yeah, this is the exit gate. Went through there, and that was pretty much it. So that was my video on Siracuse in Sicily. And it was a really great hidden gem, I feel like, in Italy and in that kind of part of Europe or the world. So I think it's a really great place to go. And right now, it's not like super crowded with tourists. So if you're kind of looking for a more chill kind of history, but also kind of vacation-y spot, I think it's like a great place. So thank you so much, and yeah, hope you all take care.